Breath of the Wild is Zelda's biggest, if not best game in the franchise. But a game this massive can't be perfect, there has to be some flaws somewhere, right? Well, today we're going to put Breath of the Wild under the microscope, so to speak, and examine and showcase some of the game's glitches. For transparency's sake, all of these glitches can be performed in the most recent patch of Breath of the Wild, unless otherwise mentioned, and I'll be using the Switch version of the game, but everything should function exactly the same on the Wii U. Anyway, let's begin. Starting with some of the more useful glitches, by now I'm sure most people are aware with the infinite stamina glitch. In Breath of the Wild, Link has an upgradable stamina meter that depletes rather quickly when you run, swim, or climb. While currently there is no known way to preserve your stamina indefinitely while swimming or climbing, you can however run at near max speed by making use of a glitch. What you'll want to do is use Link's whistle ability. You do this by pressing down on the D-pad. This would normally be used to call your nearby horse, but if you hold down on the D-pad and then repeatedly press the B button, Link will begin to run at near top speed with no stamina meter on screen. This means you could run for as long as you want to, although your hands would probably cramp up from doing this for any lengthy period of time. Besides the hand cramps, the only other downside to this glitch is it makes Link pretty much as loud as he possibly could be. So you're going to end up drawing the attention of any enemies you run past, but the good news is, if you keep using this glitch, you should be able to outrun them. Breath of the Wild also introduced the idea of being able to climb everything you see in The Legend of Zelda, and while this is great for exploration, I'm sure we've all fallen off a ledge or two and taken some hearty fall damage every now and again. Well, thankfully, there's a glitch for that. You can completely nullify any and all fall damage with just a few simple steps. As you're falling, press and hold R to have Link throw a weapon. Wait until the last possible moment before you release, that way Link tosses the weapon right before he hits the ground. Now, right as the weapon is leaving Link's hand, use right on the D-pad to switch weapons and pick anything else from your inventory. If you time all of this correctly, you should land on the ground completely unharmed and your weapons intact. Depending on your timing, you may have to go and pick up your weapon from the ground, but that's a small price to pay for not taking any fall damage. The timing can be a little tricky, but I promise you it's a lot easier than it looks. It only took me around 3 or 4 attempts before I was able to pull it off myself. Next, let's talk about clipping. There are a few interesting things you can see in Breath of the Wild if you manage to clip into the right spot. First, let me show you how this glitch works, and then I'll give you a few examples. In order to pull this off, you'll need a horse. You can probably also do this with a Master Cycle, although I've never actually tried. Afterwards, find an area on the map that is mostly flat and it's next to something you want to clip into. It doesn't need to be perfect, but I'm going to use this edge of the Great Plateau as an example here. Simply back up the horse to the edge of the surface you want to clip into, jump off the horse with Y, and while in midair, pause and save the game. After that, just simply reload the save, and once you spawn, Link should be inside whatever wall he was up against. The game does this because it can't load Link's position in midair, so its default is loading him behind the horse, but if the horse is next to a solid object, Link will spawn inside that object. While you're inside the wall, you'll notice that only one side is textured. However, both sides have collision detection, so you can't just simply walk back in bounds. You can still climb around in here though, and if you find any crazy looking bodies of water, it's probably better if you don't swim in them because I managed to get myself stuck in here. Not a big deal though. To get out, just reload any of your previous autosaves, and you'll be back in the game like nothing ever happened. A cool place to clip into is Hyrule Castle. If you manage to do it right, you can actually fall underneath the entire area and see everything. There's even a bit of water down here that you can swim in. You really can't do anything from down here, but it's still kinda neat just to see the entire thing all at once. Now, let's take this to the extreme. I should note that this glitch is not possible on the newest patch, and probably for good reason. You could easily make your entire save file unplayable, but I still want to talk about this. In the final fight versus Dark Beast Ganon, you used to be able to clip out of bounds and pass the energy barrier. All you had to do was ride your horse along it, and at a brisk pace, simply press B to dismount your horse. If you did it close enough to the barrier, Link would pop out on the other side. While outside the fight zone, Hyrule looks pretty much the same except you can't fast travel, save, and all the NPCs are gone. Shrines and Sheikah Towers are pretty messed up too. You can actually get some of the NPCs to respawn if you go to Lurelin Village and open one of the chests from the chance minigame. This will also re-enable fast traveling and saving. However, if you save out of bounds, you'll be stuck like that as there's no way to get back into the barrier at this point. you would have technically soft-locked the game since you can't really complete anything else. It's probably a good thing that this was patched out, but I wanted to talk about it anyway, even if it's no longer possible. But back to clipping. Another really easy and slightly useful glitch is the Guardian clip. Now this only works on dormant guardians, as in the ones that have legs and could become guardian stalkers, but only wake up and become violent when you get close to them. This glitch is actually super easy to pull off. In fact, you could probably do this by accident. It's that easy. So all you need for this is the Stasis rune. Then find yourself a dormant guardian. Don't get too close that you wake it up, but at least have it in your line of sight. Then use Stasis on it, and as soon as the effect wears off, it should just clip right through the world and be gone for good. Or at least until the next blood moon. But yeah, that's really all there is to it. It's very easy, and it's a pretty good way to deal with them, so give it a shot. Next, let's talk about some more useless glitches. These aren't really helpful in any way, but they're interesting nonetheless. The first one I want to show off I'm calling Lynx Oasis. First things first, you'll want to make your way over to this part of the map. Here by this giant tree, if you walk forward and into this body of water that's leading into the waterfall, you'll just drop down onto the ground. I guess the developers forgot to actually put water here, so this allows you to be underwater without actually being underwater. Inside this little pocket of air, you can really do anything you could on normal land. Shoot arrows, make campfires, heck, you can even use cryonists underwater, although it doesn't really do anything. As far as glitches go, this one's pretty tame, but it's still very interesting to see these small oversights the team made while making this massive overworld. And speaking of oversights, Breath of the Wild has a hole to the abyss, if you will. Again, you'll need to make your way over to this very specific spot on the map, but if you do, and you head into this corner, you'll notice that the ground plane doesn't exactly meet with the side of the mountain. That's right, there's a gap there, and believe it or not, you can just climb down into that gap and, technically speaking, clip into the cliffside. There isn't really anything special to see down here, and it's very easy to get lost and not be able to find your way out, but hey, if you don't want to try horse clipping, this is a very easy way to pretty much achieve the same effect. This next glitch is pretty well known, but I want to show it off anyway. Breath of the Wild is no doubt a very stylized looking game. Its somewhat cel-shaded nature makes everything just seem so vivid and colorful. But what if we could take that away? Well, thankfully, there's a neat little spot right over on the Bridge of Hylia that gives us an example of what Breath of the Wild would look like if it didn't have all that fancy shading. So all you have to do is climb up into the little alcove on this part of the bridge of Lake Hylia. Here you can see a distinct line that separates the shader and effect layers from the actual models and textures that lie underneath. I can't say for sure why exactly it's only in this part of the world, but it's really interesting to see. The model for Lynx specifically looks so crisp and honestly, not half bad. If the entire game was like this, I really wouldn't mind, but I think the shaders and other effects really do enhance the overall look of the game, and it wouldn't be the same without it. Still, again, this is another really easy thing to try for yourself, so I recommend you give it a shot. You can even pose Link and take some really crazy selfies. I would say you could post them to Miiverse on the Wii U, but yeah, that's kind of dead, so I guess you can't really do that anymore. And lastly, let's talk about one of the harder glitches to perform, Stasis Reset. Stasis Reset is a glitch mainly used for speedrunning or crossing very long distances very quickly. And as the name would suggest, it involves using stasis on the object more than once. The best way to demonstrate this would be with a log, so first things first, cut down a tree and try to get the log to land in the direction you want to go. Then use stasis on that log and try to build up a lot of momentum. Before the timer runs out, use an arrow to point the energy upwards and quickly get on top of the log towards the center. This can be a little bit tricky to pull off and you might even get knocked off more than once, but if you do it right, Link will be on top of the log as it starts soaring through the air. The next part is the trickiest part though. While in midair, pause the game and load up one of Link's memories and immediately skip it. Unpause the game and use stasis again. If you're lucky, you can begin to charge up a spin attack and hit the log a couple times to build up even more momentum. Then drop a bomb off the back and explode it to better aim the log upwards. And at the very last second before stasis runs out, jump. If you do it right, it should, at the very least, give you some extra air time to glide where you want to go. But if you time everything perfectly, you'll get flung at insanely high speeds and be able to keep that speed while gliding to travel immensely long distances. Again, this one is very hard to pull off. Even I didn't do it exactly right in the clip that I recorded, and it took me like 40 minutes just to get that. I'll make sure to include an example of what it looks like when you do everything perfectly, but yeah, this glitch is very hard to pull off, but it's not just limited to logs. Pretty much any object you can use stasis on, you could attempt to use Stasis Reset with, so try it out for yourself. Anyway, that's actually all the glitches I have. If you know of any others, let me know in the comments down below. But as always, once again guys, my name is Matt, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.